Ready? Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live session on Ask Teesta. With me is Teesta Setalvad. I had a very good intro prepared for you, but then the first question is no. The first question lends you to introduce yourself because there's at the rate Jaydev who's asked, "Who are you?"
Who, me?
Yeah, it's like a very deep.
Where I am the name of a river, and this river flows right from Sikkim through Bengal into Bangladesh, and it's a tributary of the most gorgeous river, which is the Brahmaputra. So that's who I am, Teesta.
Right.
It's got lovely green waters.
Yeah, and I think the question, like when we put that ask me thing on Twitter, most people are like, yeah, but who are you too? Like, why should I ask you anything? But for all of you who don't know, Teesta is an activist, a journalist, and an educationist, and we're here to discuss. She's also the secretary of Citizens for Justice and Peace, and we're here to talk about a lot of interesting things. So, should we just jump into the questions?
As you like, Kunal, it's your show.
So, Wasim, at the rate Wasim 6466. As asked, peace is an integral part of justice, but in today's world, everybody wants peace without taking justice into sense. How can we make justice more inclusive to peace?
Well, a very good question, and that's our credo, by the way, Kunal. You know that's why Citizens for Justice and Peace, because we believe that there can't be any lasting peace, sustainable peace, without a sense of justice, without the feeling that any widow, any father, any brother, whether it's from Tilokpuri or from Narodapatia or from Assam, feels that the lost ones that they have lost through to mindless violence, somehow the perpetrators should get punished. If that belief and that hope in that grief retains itself, then a sense of justice prevails, then our institutions are forced to deliver, then the constitution makes sense.
Right.
And then you can think of lasting reconciliation and peace. But without that, it's really difficult. So our credo, Citizens for Justice and Peace is, and we are fighting in the courts and beyond, is for justice to be able to have sustainable, lasting peace.
So, but do you think if the stakeholders are held accountable by the courts, do you think there's a chance you may put end to these hate crimes?
I think that that's one of the only ways. Not the only way. I think you need to have societal dialogue also. You need to have intercommunity discourse also. But I think holding our institutions of democracy, the courts accountable when there is mass violence is so crucial. Because whichever minorities, whether it's Adivasis, whether it's Dalits, whether it's religious minorities, whether it's LGBTQIA, women, children, if there is mindless violence perpetrated on them, and the feeling grows in society and among those communities that no, the constitution is there, it's a wonderful document, it's the holy book of our country, but it means nothing. Then you're going to actually be festering a lot of angst, and that's not healthy for a society. So we believe, cjp.org.in, we believe in battling this through the courts. It's been a very tough and lonely battle.
Yeah. For you mostly because you're also trying to make sure that the descendants of the person attacked look at the country in a better light and just not through this case, right? Like if they get some form of justice, like if somebody is attacked in a hate crime and if his family, his extended family sees the court working towards justice, they might think differently.
Yeah, and then you don't go towards revenge and retribution, right?
Right.
And that's so important, that if you sustain hope in a system,
right,
and the system delivers, even if it delivers late very often, but at least you feel that struggle was worth it.
Right, let's go to our next question. I think I know this journalist. It's Om Thanvi, who is basically... He's asked you that the courts keep you very busy. Does that take up a lot of your time? And is it a victory for them? Are you still able to do your work?
ओम जी, मैं आपके सवाल आपके लिए जवाब दे रही हूँ कि कोई भी संघर्ष में अगर 10 कदम आगे जाना होता है तो संघर्ष की सफलता का ये तुलना है कि पूरे जो अत्याचार करने वाली जो सरकार है वो आपको 5 कदम पीछे ढकेलती है. अगर वो पीछे ढकेलती है तो इसका मतलब है कहीं ना कहीं वो संघर्ष सफल रहा है. हमने 172 लोग, 172 people, Kunal, we managed CJP through its band of lawyers to get convicted in the Gujarat genocidal carnage. 124 were to life imprisonment. मतलब हमने सजाए मौत नहीं मांगी. That meant a huge debate with the survivors.
Yeah.
And ये संघर्ष की सफलता की वजह से पूरा मतलब गुजरात सरकार, अभी दिल्ली का सरकार हमारे पीछे पड़ा है. तो आज अगर हमारे 3-4 दिन हमारे मिशन को सफल बनाने में आज भी जाते हैं, चाहे वो आदिवासी के केसेस हो, चाहे वो हमारे अल्पसंख्यकों के हो, तो 2-3 दिन हमारे खुद के मुकदमे लड़ने में, तो डेफिनेटली इट हैज impaired us to that extent, but it has not stopped out.
Yeah, but it takes up a lot of your time though.
Yeah, and it's demanding emotionally and otherwise. It also sort of attempts to wear you down. It also tells you who your true friends are.
That's the best part. Yeah, it actually tells you who's actually for you and not. Yeah, you're right. At the rate Midwest 371555607, interesting Twitter handle. Did you convert for marrying Javed Anand, or Gujarat riots has turned you into a jihadan? I don't know why we have to name.
Well, I always ask people who are my critiques or my dissenters that at least base your question on facts.
Yeah.
And for the person who asked this question purposely, I said, I hope you do fall in love with somebody one day.
Yeah.
And I hope that person is also, whichever gender that person is from, I hope that person is not from your caste or for your community.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't get shackled by your sense of identity and use a secular law which is available to us, which is the Special Marriages Act. That's what Javed and I did in 1986. We gave a notice, we went to the registrar, called him home, we had a nice little function, we signed it, and it was the Special Marriages Act that married us. Not a Havan, not a Nikah.
Okay. So you basically just married like it's a documented marriage.
It's a civil marriage, it's not a religious marriage. Not that I find that the religious marriage is a crime, but because the detractors seem to think so, I just thought
you would justify it. But nicely, oh my god, but it's just this immediate identity is it's just latching on to one thing.
Yeah, I think it's that you're born a Hindu and you betrayed the community by marrying somebody who's not a Hindu. That sort of sentiment is so strong.
Yeah.
And it's also so vicious, and it's also filled with hate very often.
Yeah. And love is supposed to be blind, right?
And surround all that. So actually we are a queer society. I always say we watch these lovely movies on the silver screen which are larger than life, where we love to see the Romeo and Juliets of our society. But in real life, we don't seem to be able to take it so well.
Yeah, we don't. We're not prepared for, I think also we're culturally very different, right? So it's not class. Romeo and Juliet, I think class divide mostly, but if you see this class, caste, culture, there's so much divide that people are just not able to soak it in.
But in India, we are getting a V-Day day, we're getting new films coming, so...
Yeah, culture it's changing.
Yeah.
Kaustubh Mehta 97, wow, he's born in 97 and he's interested in your work. I'm happy there only. I don't know what his question is.
No, a lot of young people are very, very interested in our work. Yeah.
My question to Teesta Setalvad is, what is the one thing that keeps you inspired throughout, despite so many hardships and intimidation? Please explain elaborately so that many people who look up at your vigor and spirit can be inspired. Thanks. He seems like a fan.
Well, it's nice to have those as well. It makes you feel that you're not doing such a bad thing at the end of the day. But sorry, this answer will have to be serious. It's actually a belief very deep down that this country belongs to everybody. So actually, this country was created after 200 years of the freedom struggle with a vision that every Indian, Eastern, Southern, Western, Northern, rich, poor, Zoroastrian, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Dalit, each one has a right to a stake in the pie, and each one has equal citizenship. And further that, it is also from the belief that if some of us don't stake everything, life and limb sometimes, to fight for this, we are going to be really up a very, very dangerous path. And if ever this country gets formally converted, I'm saying formally because we are almost on the road there, formally converted into a theocratic autocracy, then that's going to be a road to chaos and violence. And that's a frightening scenario for you, for the generations that come. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's a weird time. I mean, I don't have a great...
We are sitting on a time bomb, Kunal, and it's like, that's why we need to fight politically, we need to fight socially, we need to fight culturally, and we need to fight educationally. We need to fight in so many ways.
Moving on to the next question is R. Khuria is Zakia Jafri's case against Narendra Modi for his involvement in the Gujarat riots still alive?
Very, very much so. It's very much alive. And we believe that that's the root cause of all these false cases being put against us. Now, what was the Zakia Jafri case about? I mean, most people know it, but I just like to take 2 minutes because it's one of the most underreported cases in Indian's history, and for a reason. It's a case which fought by a very, very brave widow, Ahsan Jafri's widow, Zakia Jafri. It's the mother of all cases related to 2002. It attempts to look at all the 300 incidents that took place in Gujarat, not through the prism of the Gulbarga Society massacre, but through actually accessing 23,000 pages of evidence, State Intelligence Bureau records, police control room records, and police officers' affidavits, to try and establish that there is a case for a trial of criminal conspiracy of powerful politicians, administrators, policemen, etc. It's in the courts, it's in the High Court at the moment. High Court gave us a window of opportunity when it accepted our argument that the SIT's investigation can be further investigated. And the man who headed SIT, R.K. Raghavan, is now ambassador of Cyprus for that of power. And we are now going to challenge that and take it up to the Supreme Court. So it's very much alive.
When was this case filed?
2006.
2006 was when it was
Yeah, the first complaint was filed in 2006 before the police. The same police that it was accusing of complicity. Predictably, they did not register an FIR. So then we went to the High Court. Then we went to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court in 2011 sent us back to the magistrates.
Right. So when you started this exercise, you never thought you would be fighting the Prime Minister of the country?
No, I
Nobody did.
not at all. Not at all.
Weird coincidence. So the next question is Alicia 79114286. A very interesting Twitter handle. What is CJP currently working on?
And that's such an important question. Our credo has been, in the courts and beyond. And CJP has, its revamped model since 26 November 2017. That's last year. We are actually now looking at our experience. We believe our maximum experience has been in the courts. Battling the courts to get justice for the survivors, and also battling the cases where there were false cases against us. So we are extending that legal experience to Adivasi movements, Dalit movements who are fighting on the ground. And there's this Adivasi amazing movement in Sonbhadra, which is the forest area of UP. So we are working on these areas to reform the criminal justice system and to get false cases against Adivasi leaders and Dalit leaders squashed. And we really urge all our supporters to help us support the struggle both in Gujarat and in other areas. We also want to start Mohalla committees, which was started in Bhiwandi by this amazing police officer Suresh Khopade in 1984, which is a model of citizens trying to interact with the police so that hate crimes can be reduced and constitutional values are incorporated. So there are many, many activities that CJP is involved in currently, and we're really looking for volunteers. We're looking for people who will enroll as members, and we do hope that you will support us in this mission.
Right, but you basically, the whole your trust's work is kind of based on men in uniform not doing their job to the 100% accuracy, and
deepening democracy is how we see it. That if you want to, we have a constitution, which is a constitution in place, but we have the Police Act, we have IPC, many structures which are not really constitutionalized. So can we make these structures of democracy more accountable to the people, so that the police doesn't work with the danda and with the lathi, but actually works through dialogue. And the only way to enforce this is in the courts.
Yeah, it's true. @Kashish 75960407. I hope this is not their phone number that I'm reading out like this.
No, I hope not to.
What are you doing to help people in Assam? Hindus and Muslims are dying and will be stateless soon.
Actually, I'd like to congratulate the person who's asked this question, because this is again a very underreported story. It's a big human rights crisis that is brewing in Assam at the moment, just as we talk. And we have a 2-member CJP team which is visiting Assam just now to actually have a look at how the detention camps, etc. are functioning. Under Supreme Court supervision, the NRC is being compiled, which is the National Citizens Register. Now, it's a long story, I can't go into it here. It all arose out of the Assam Accord. But the fear is that many people are being pushed into detention camps, being made into doubtful voters or doubtful foreigners by an administration that actually has a political agenda, not really a very constitutional agenda. So there is a possibility that the detention camps will be actually places where there be deaths, killing. We lost a Bengali Hindu died a week ago in a detention camp for undeclared reasons. Because people have been cramped together, unhygienic conditions, no medical aid.
Yeah.
And at the moment, there are 6 such detention camps in Assam. So please also have a look at cjp.org.in and look at our campaign on Assam and our other stories.
Right. Tripathi Nandini asks, is the CJP ambulance service still running? That was a great initiative.
Actually, that's a very little known initiative of ours. In 2008, we had that horrible terror attack on Bombay. And after that, CJP was at the forefront of many groups in Bombay coming together, trying to talk about what citizens can do at that time. So, our board of trustees, and by the way, I want to acknowledge that our board of trustees is an amazing board of people. There's Anil Tharkar, Nandan Malusti, our founding president was Vijay Tendulkar, Cyrus Gazdar, Shakuntala Kulkarni, and others. We actually said that we analyze why you had Kasab killing at VT station, then we had the killings at Taj and Oberoi, okay? But many of the deaths at VT actually happened because there were no ambulances out of bleeding, not because of the shot. So we actually analyzed those figures, and then we started this campaign that can we refurbish the cities, this thing with ambulances. So then there was some music concert where there was Jethro Tull, Anushka Shankar, they all donated their conference proceeds. Some of our members donated money, and today CJP is running 2 ambulances in Bombay to try and supplement what the local authorities are doing.
So in accident cases and cases...
Any cases near the railways, the pro bono ambulance services are available.
Nice, actually I also didn't know about these services, so kind of... Coming to the... I think this is a staunch critic of yours. At the rate Cerebris _, how much funds did you collect for 2002 riot victims and how much did you use it for yourself?
Oh yeah, this is a very, very horrid question that we've had to face, and I want to answer it squarely. All the money that Citizens for Justice and Peace and Satnam collected, CJP money was collected for legal aid for the victims. And not a pie of this money, like I mentioned, we have a very eminent board, not a pie of this was used for any personal gain. The day this fraudulent FIR was registered against us, January 2014, over the next 1 year, we were hounded, we were maligned in the media. We have submitted 20,500 pages of vouchers and accounts to prove that all these allegations are false. And after 4.5 years, we don't have a charge sheet. All the monies that were spent on wine, on sanitary napkins, and on my haircut at a salon were for my personal credit card expenses. This has been shown to the crime branch, and the crime branch has viciously just leaked out these vouchers of my personal expenses without showing that they're coming from my personal credit card account. It is mass level vilification which only a fascist force can do. We have answered every allegation in the courts, to the media, but somehow, as you know, sometimes mud sticks.
I mean, they don't care about the court. They want to put you in court of public opinion.
That's right.
They want me and you to talk about fixing this live, and me thinking, should I really do this with Teesta? Or you thinking, should I really do this with Kunal? This is what people say about him.
And should I face these questions at all?
So they just want to put you in court of public opinion. And that I think works better than court of any other court, right?
Because our courts of law takes so long.
So public opinion is formed like this. Teesta bought some wine, now she's a bad human being.
Yeah.
Without even getting 20,500 pages, and none of those
Every voucher has been substantiated that this is from the trust fund, this is from the personal fund.
Yeah.
And the courts know it, the police know it, and yet we know that this particular crime branch, Ahmedabad, is being guided by the political powers. We know that there's a father-son duo, top-notch criminal lawyers, who appear for the state of Gujarat and who appear for one detractor who's a former employee of CJP. There's a horrendous nexus at work.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, today the media is the biggest problem because they're not investigating this nexus.
Yeah.
They're just reproducing what the police is telling them in headlines and not giving us fair space.
Yeah. They're not there to give anyone fair space.
We saw the Cobra Post sting, right?
Yeah, it's pathetic. I mean, Cobra Post sting, I was just like, Cobra Post went to these guys and they were like, spread Hindutva, we'll give you this money. And these guys were just like, we were doing it free. are you really paying us for this? And they just went for it. Like,
No, but you also remember those couple of stories that Times of India pulled down?
Yeah.
2 days back they pulled down a story which saying that Bajrang Dal was responsible for the hangings in West Bengal. Then there was another story a few months ago in Economic Times where why Amit Shah's income has gone up by so many 100 times. And suddenly ET pulls that story off.
Yeah, it's a weird time. But coming to the next question, at the rate Rang Baj Ransa, why did you never answer Rais Khan's points against you? You can now hear him in and still do that. Truth should come out.
Agree. How do you answer somebody's allegations? Okay.
But what are the who's Rais Khan and what was his allegations?
Rais Khan is a former employee of CJP. He was a field coordinator. We asked him to discontinue his services with the organization in January 2008 when we found his behavior had become very questionable vis-a-vis the witnesses. Okay. Now, for almost 3 years and 10 months after that, he is quiet. And as the Zakia Jafri case gets traction, goes up to the Supreme Court, etc., suddenly he files about 20 complaints in 20 different forums. And like I said, the same lawyers who are appearing for him are also appearing for the state of Gujarat. The same woman lawyer who appears for the state of Gujarat to oppose our bail is also his lawyer in the High Court. So the nexus is clear as to who's the member of Parliament, BJP Delhi, who uses Rais Khan's material, is using it on the kind of channels that today you and I would not go to. You know?
Or we would go to for only entertainment.
Only for entertainment, right. So this man was unfortunately used, he's been forum shopping, today he's a member of the Central Waqf Board. He's been nicely rewarded. So to answer this question, however, every single such allegation, filthy as it is, we have answered. How can you answer an allegation? In 2 ways. One is you issue detailed press releases answering allegation point by point. We've done that. We've got 30 press releases to show how we've answered it. And the media, including the better newspapers, have not carried and given due diligence to our side of the story. The other way is in court. So I filed a defamation suit against him. I filed a defamation suit of 5 crores against him, and the High Court of Bombay has accepted that there was defamation and has said that he has to pay up. But you know what it means to get somebody to pay up.
Right.
So I have 1440 of 2012. The moment he started making allegations, I sued him for defamation, and we got an order from the Bombay High Court. So what else can one do? And I just like to say one last thing is that today in this world of trolls and social media and boosting and how do you make which story come up and why his videos are circulating, if a journalist were to do an investigation into who is boosting and paying for Rais Khan's videos, there's a good story there. There's a good sting operation there.
Yeah, but that requires actual work.
And also require taking on the powers that be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a content creation world we live in. So if they are ready to engage you without taking on anyone, they're happy to do that.
Yeah,
they just want to rate you. I mean, if having a debate about Rahul Gandhi can make a lot of people tune into the TV, why have a debate about Narendra Modi? Yeah. Why do that?
And if you can have maybe a bunch of 40 people called Rahul Gandhi Pappu, which are like false people, like that's creations of the trolls.
Yeah. It's done. It's done. That's what. But this defamation is a law. Do you agree with the law in that?
This is not a criminal defamation. Criminal defamation I didn't file because I don't actually, as a human rights activist, believe in it. But this is civil defamation.
So he can never go to jail for it. But
no,
he has.
But he should be made to pay. The law works in this country.
Yeah. Coming back to Cerebrus _ again. How much did Congress? Wow. The chronology is very funny. How much did Congress give you to create fake witnesses and mass graves in the Godra case?
Not one pie.
Yeah.
First of all, our entire struggle for justice, including Zakia Appa's case.
Yeah.
Zakia Appa happens to be the widow of a former Congress parliamentarian, but it has been fought by CJP alone as a civil rights activist, not by any political organization. And by the way, the 172 convictions we got, including 124 to life imprisonment, were thanks to the testimonies of 570 witnesses who braved odds and who deposed in the court. So there were no fake witnesses. And as far as the Pandarwada case is concerned, it was a case where about 26 people have been brutally killed, and the near and dear ones had got information that some BMC official had dumped the remains in a very unceremonious way. And after the killing, people want closure, people want some ceremonies performed. So they did the digging on their own. I was kilometers away in Bombay, and I'm supposed to be the chief conspirator of everything that happened in Gujarat.
Yeah.
So some sort of omnipresence feeling when actually it is survivors who are very bravely fighting for justice. We are just simply ensuring they get quality legal aid.
Yeah. That's basically your job, is just to make sure the fight is theirs, you're just supporting with legal aid.
Always.
Okay. At the rate Akshay VBK 78. Ma'am, do you really think justice would be delivered in the cases you've been fighting for, especially the 2002 genocide case?
Well, like I've already said in answer to some of the questions, that some measure of success we have already achieved. Because if you look at 2002 compared to 84, where the Sikh community had a program against it.
Yeah.
If you look at 92-93 Bombay, when our city burned.
Yeah.
If you look at Nelly in Assam, 1983, where there's been no justice. We've already had some measure of justice already in Gujarat, and we believe in that is also a lot to do with the fact that CJP as a group existed and could take the risks it took. But having said that, I'd also like to tell this young person, I think I'm sure he's a very young person, that sometimes the process itself is the challenge, and the process and the struggle itself is the fight. Because today we are looking to make our systems of democracy accountable. We have the courts, but do the courts deliver justice? They will not deliver justice unless you go to them to ensure they deliver justice. Today we have, even in the courts, a very imbalanced system. If a not-for-profit civil rights organization and a survivor stands up, files an affidavit, and even if there's 0.5% of an error in that affidavit, he or she will be slammed by the court. But if a government official lies on affidavit, like those policemen have lied about the accusations against us, there will be no punitive action. So what we are fighting for also is to get that balance corrected. That somehow, and you can only get it corrected if you engage. And when you engage, you take risks. So part of getting our criminal justice system accountable is to engage and take risks. And we just hope that more and more Indians join us in this mission, because we need to make our criminal justice system more accountable to our people.
So currently from what I gather is that you're saying the courts are selective whenever the government is involved in a case?
It's not so much selective as they just seem to think that the government tells the truth, that police officers will not lie on affidavit, that IAS officers may not tell untruths, whereas you see in case after case they are doing it, and even the courts are seeing it. But how will you correct that unless there's punitive action? That's the question they are raising.
Like some example setting in these cases have to happen.
Because only when an officer knows that he or she cannot put hyperbole and lies on affidavit, whether it's against a Teesta Setalvad or a Javed Anand or a Medha Patkar or anybody, that will they stop doing it.
But now coming to a question actually that I have, what motivated you to start this? This is great work, but if I thought of doing any sort of activism, it would not be this complex. I would probably just think of something simpler.
Why?
To achieve, because I don't know, my mind doesn't work in these complexities of dealing with 180 cases and 220 lawyers and 450 slap suits. I just think, I'd feed someone. I'd open a school somewhere. Like, just the simplicity of running a trust would draw me to it, and not this seems too much work.
Well, you actually put your finger on it, because actually any rights struggle, any rights-based legal rights struggle is the most complex and the most difficult. And it's also the most difficult to get support for, in terms of whether it's membership support, numbers or money, because people tend to shy away from the police, people tend to get scared of the courts. But like it or leave it, I brought this little gift for you, Kunal. I was like, this is a book which my publishers actually, hats off to them, they made me write it. It's not a book that I wanted to write, but it tells my story, not my personal biography, but my work and my political this thing. And the reason why I'm giving it to you is because it will probably explain to you that I was born up steeped in the law, and somehow the belief, right or wrong, that the courts should deliver constitutional values and justice. Now, as you grew and became more experienced, you realize that that's a slightly naive way of looking at it. You also have to have people's movements. You also need to have political consciousness. The laws don't work on their own. And to make the law actually, and you've had repressive laws, like you had the Rowlatt Act, you have the UAPA today, you have the National Security Act that is actually incarcerating Chandrasekhar Azad Ravan, an amazing Dalit leader, for the last 1 year in Uttar Pradesh. And we are also campaigning for him.
Yeah, actually somebody got in touch with me also saying that,
please support his cause.
I actually, I was like, okay, I want to support his cause, but it's just too serious to joke about, and I don't know in what form should I put myself forward, because I'm like seeing him and I can see travesty just in that case. Totally there.
Beam Army, the organization that they formed last about 12 years ago, they're all very young.
Right.
He's a qualified lawyer. There are many of the others who are qualified lawyers.
Yeah.
Amazing bunch of persons from Western Uttar Pradesh. And they're actually running the 350 schools. And they're actually in the schools, they're teaching people how to challenge injustice. And I think that's what this dispensation does not.
Yeah. So coming to the next question is basically, have you discussed, it's at the rate DST181299 again. Have you discussed about Gujarat riots cases and got tapes from Rana? Are you both in contact with each other? And what's your take on institutions being attacked by hate mongers and the right wing?
2-3 questions in that, so I just have to break it up.
Sure.
Well, the day Rana's book was published, she self-published that book. We actually carried excerpts of it on our website, and we even contacted her that if there's any of her material is available for testing, because in a court of law you need to make available the tapes in a certain form, and the moment it's available for testing, we'll be happy to use it to supplement any of our cases. So far it's not happened, but I'm sure if it happens, we can do it. In terms of institutions being attacked by hate mongers, it's a very, very clever tactic that, according to me, fascists use. Is that whether it's election commission, whether it is the judiciary, whether it is the educational apparatus, you attack them and make them so defensive that they don't even act when they're supposed to act. I mean, that's what's happening with the election commission today. You have brazen kind of violations taking place on the question of hate crimes. You have a elected MLA from Karnataka saying, I will not work for the non-Hindu voter. I mean, how can you say that? Once I'm elected from a constituency, I have to be, I'm a representative of everybody who lives there. But this sort of idea is gaining ground, which is making people feel that even without formally becoming a theocracy, we are functioning like that, and it's not a very healthy sign.
But this actually lends us to an interesting kind of corner where there's an elected MLA saying, I won't work for non-Hindu
just day before yesterday,
right? And while you will be asked that, are you selective in your activism and would you ever work for a Hindu victim? And I'm like there's somebody openly saying who was elected and you are questioning Teesta about will she work for a Hindu victim. But yeah, Teesta, now that this is like the whataboutery is what our country's name should change to, would you work for a Hindu victim?
See, CJP appeared for the Godhra victim. People don't know that there were 5 families whose next of kin were brutally burned down in that arson in the Sabarmati Express. They approached us in 2003 when they found that the VHP had taken them for a ride. Vishwa Hindu Parishad had taken them for the ride. And they said VHP is taken and we took the Godhra case to the Supreme Court of the 5 families. And in fact, that's when Praveen Togade issued a threat against me that we won't allow Teesta to enter Gujarat ever, and that's when I started getting protection from the Supreme Court. So this is history. There are today about 400 to 800 Kashmiri Pandit families living in the valley. Many of the Kashmiri Pandits who moved out, it's a tragedy and we empathize with them. But those Kashmiri Pandits who are living there at great risk, and this government, this regime has actually lessened their security. And we took it up, CJP took it up, and we managed to collect funds from this city of Bombay. In fact, one of our trustees, Cyrus Gazdar, gave a majority of the money. The time of the Buran Bani episode, for about 3 months, they were almost going hungry. It was CJP who collected money for them. So, I mean, we don't go around either wearing that as a badge or not as a badge, because we believe a minority can exist anywhere. A minority in the valley is different from a minority in Uttar Pradesh. A minority can be a Christian, a Sikh, a Hindu, a Dalit, an LGBTQIA. It can be a woman within the Muslim community. It can be anybody. And we need to stand up for these levels and levels of minorities. And we have stood up. But it's just that people want to just put, like you said, it's whataboutery, and they just want to find labeling. When you have a situation where your elected representative is today saying, I will not even look at any grievance of my non-Hindu voter. What makes you believe that every Hindu voter has voted for him in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, please. Thank God all Hindus don't believe in Hindutva. Thank God for it.
Oh, but this rules out our next question, which at the rate fake Aam Aadmi Party handlers asked, why didn't you work for Hindus that are in refuge camps of Jammu and Kashmir, and what have you done for them? This is the next
It's
question.
a little bit. I'm not trying to say we've done more than what we've done, but we do not look at it from the prism of, looking at what only this community or that community. Honestly, we believe, as a trust, as a group of trustees, we believe that the minority is vulnerable. And for a democracy to be a real, vibrant democracy, every minority right must be recognized.
Yeah, I think, but it's very difficult to penetrate this idea into people, and like even my friends, when I sit down and it's very difficult to explain to them this, and it's so much nuance, and you can't take away their context and their individual experiences which they've had. It's too much. This
and then the
leads
final
to-
discussion you have is that, that Muslim is okay, he's my neighbor, but what were those Muslims
Yeah, exactly.
who attacked us and converted and all that? And then you have to talk about history, and then you have to talk about medieval history.
Yeah.
Then you have to say that, Mughals kept all the wealth in this country. They were not like the British who looted it up. So, there's so many levels of prejudice at work. And honestly, this prejudice has become legitimized because of the political powers that we have. Otherwise, it used to be just prejudice within.
Yeah. It was just inside, now there's somebody saying it.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to say it now.
It's fashionable to say it now.
It's fashionable to say it now, right? Coming to the next question of Fahim Lim. What is the solution of religious discrimination in the country?
Oh, I wish I had a prescription for that one.
I wish we all knew.
It's tough. I think the only thing I can share from my experience is that it has to be multiple levels. It won't be just Teesta Setalvad and CJP. It's not only Kunal Kamra. It's not only what X is doing, but it has to be multiple struggles and multiple paths, okay, which can achieve what we want to achieve, which is a society and a state which is free of religious discrimination. So that's one. Secondly, I believe we need to work in our societies where we live, in our housing societies, in our small towns, in our villages. We need to keep saying that what demon are we fighting?
Yeah.
Does this demon really exist?
Yeah.
Then we need to pick up our textbook and say that is this textbook real history or is it hate mongering?
Yeah.
Then we have to look at our classroom and say that in our classroom can we have debate and dialogue. I do a lot of work in schools, and one of the things we do in school, which is so much fun, is we ask kids to look at their migratory history. Okay, and I cannot tell you, Kunal, 6 months of they're doing that and the whole color of the classroom changes. Because a classroom that thought himself or herself in uniform, there is Radhakrishnan Vidyalaya Malad, or this Vidyalaya here. Suddenly you say somebody's Kannada speaking, somebody's Urdu speaking, somebody's Tamil speaking, somebody's Gujarati speaking, somebody's from Latur. And we actually get children enrolled in tracking their own migratory histories. Now, if we were to do stuff like that in schools, you'd be busting prejudice big time,
100%. 100% you would be. At the rate Shamshad Sheikh, I think last few questions left for all of those tuned in still. How to combat this hate politics? I feel public engagement could be one option, but people are filled with so much anger that they could burst against you, even when you try to convince them, basically.
No, I mean that's why I was saying earlier that we're really on a time bomb, and I know where he's coming from, and I know that's where India is, or that parts of India is, and I think it's about time that the influential sections of Indians, majority, acknowledges that we are actually causing a lot of fear and anxiety among large sections of Indians. And I'm not saying this as a rant or as a threat, but I really feel if we are not able to convey this to our majority brothers and sisters, we are really sitting on a time bomb. I mean, I've had people from Calcutta tell me, Uttar Pradesh tell me that, if there's a long 2 or 3 night overnight train journey, I don't want to catch a train. I'd rather catch a flight. Because if by dress or by food habit I'm seen as a Muslim in the train, and it's a long journey. Because you know what happened to Junaid when he was lynched? You had 60-70 people just watching. It was last year, he had come for his leave. So I know where that's coming from, and I don't have an answer, but I think we need to speak out. We need to break the silence. We need to convince others, because I still believe that this country, a vast majority of people, cannot tolerate this hate mongering. So I think we somehow need, whether we are small influencers or big influencers, can we convince people to break the complicity of silence?
You're saying this issue needs every influential person in India to kind of come and
acknowledge it. Yes, this is India today. Our streets are fearful for some people and a section of Indians, and that's not a nice thing. It's not a healthy thing.
We we have another question. This is from someone we both know, Kavita Krishnan, who I must confess I'm a big fan of.
So am I.
Yeah,
She's a friend.
like, there are a few, like when we were growing up, of course, all of us grew up dumb. And looking at Kavita, Karuna, Aditi Mittal's Twitter, I think that was the first time I realized that I got sensitized towards my gender.
That's a huge compliment, Kavita.
Yeah, Kavita, Karuna, Aditi, to a very large degree, Kani, a few friends who's and I was scared to even have that conversation because I was like, maybe I don't have the nuance for it. But just reading their stuff, just looking at what they say, kind of with time, it helped me form a few amendments to my life.
Nice.
So this is from Kavita, and Kavita is like, how do you define love for one's country? Is it defined by hate for someone else? Martin Luther King, Mandela, Bhagat Singh, Gandhi all wanted to change many things in their society and country. Were they motivated by love or not?
Of course they were. Hate can never be the foundation of a nation, and othering can never be the foundation of patriotism. I think that's what she means, Bhagat Singh, who sought to be appropriated by the powers that be today, and he stood for the diametric opposite in terms of what kind of nation he wanted. He wanted a nation which was just, where the poor had a voice, where there was less socio-economic disparity. And I think fighting for all of these causes is really real patriotism. Fighting against hunger, fighting for justice, fighting for the Adivasis in Sonbhadra who today getting arrested by the UP government. I'm associated with this wonderful union called All India Union of Forest Working People, and yesterday 3 women activist leaders were arrested simply because they are laying claims under the Forest Rights Act for land. So you give the right to them on paper, and then when they go to assert it, you want to take it away. Now, standing by these struggles and fighting for them yourself is true patriotism. And when it comes to whether it is Gandhi or whether it is Martin Luther, let's not forget both of them were shot. And we know why Gandhiji was shot and who shot him. It was because he stood for a syncretic nationhood. He stood against Hindutva. And it was those guys who shot him. And today they want to appropriate him.
I mean, but the thing is, with a figure like Gandhi, you can shoot him but not kill him. Like
Never.
He's still on our currency. Few differences earlier used to look to the left.
But they still try to hate monger him very badly.
They do, but I mean, it's just that more hate mongering happens, the more people read up about Gandhi. Like that whole Lenin thing when they toppled the statue.
Absolutely.
It was beautiful because I like people read about Lenin, people read about why Bhagat Singh used to read about Lenin.
Ambedkar, Phule, all of them.
All of them.
And we are a strange society.
Yeah.
Whether it was Tukaram, whether it was Kabir, whether it was Gandhi, all those were complete social revolutionaries of their time were loathed and they koda fenkte the unke upar during their lifetimes. And they became saints after that.
Same is happening right now. It's not changing. Like it's exactly history repeating itself. So what drew you to dedicate your life towards activism is something in the book which I should point out. And is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's a left-word book, yeah.
You should buy it. But if you'd like to answer a little bit on this, what drew you to dedicate your life to activism? What were the other options available to you?
Well, the easiest option for me would have been to step into my father's and grandfather's shoes and get into law, because I come from 8th generation of lawyers, and that is a completely one of those feudal professions where if you're the son or the daughter of a lawyer, and even if you're not very good, you can still get a huge, very lucrative practice. So, I was actually inclined towards going to the law because I'm working with the law now. But Standard 7 and changed my life. One book that my father brought home to me, which was All the President's Men, and that was about the Watergate scandal. I don't know if you know about it. The Nixon scandal. And I said, journalism is my route. And I remember telling my father that I am not going to do law now, I'm going to do journalism. And he's an amazing father, actually. We have 2 sisters, and he's such a proud father of 2 girls. Never really hankered for a son or anything. And he said, do what you like. So that was journalism, and therefore I took my first step away from what I would have done otherwise into journalism. And with journalism also it was covering labor, covering feminism, women's rights, etc. And then 86 onwards our lives changed. And our lives, when I say our, I'm talking about Javedan and myself, because we had gotten involved by then. We were first living together, then we got married, which was a revolutionary act.
which is still apparently a revolutionary act.
Yeah.
Right.
So and then we did, and we saw actually what your generation is going through now.
Yeah.
We saw the seed of that happening.
Yeah.
We saw the entire Ram Janmabhoomi movement on the one hand, vicious hate mongering led by Advani's Rath Yatra, bloodshed all around. We were firefighting, we were doing it as journalists, and we saw the Shah Bano case on the other.
Yeah.
So, it's very important that people don't realize that majority communalism and minority communalism were feeding into each other.
Yeah.
Here was the judgment of the Supreme Court, badly worded,
Yeah.
because the judge should not have spoken about the Quran and all
Yeah.
that. But he was just giving 125 rupees maintenance to a Muslim woman, and the entire male clergy, Muslim clergy, was on the streets.
Yes.
I remember going to meetings at Muhammad Ali Road, etc. So you had majority communalism through the Ram Janmabhoomi movement and minority communalism through that middle road, a Hindu, was getting completely communalized, and it was a scary India.
Yeah.
That's when we took the plunge.
Yeah, but I think that's the seeds.
That is the seed which we need to understand.
Exactly. And this is
That
political seed.
today's government was born then.
Exactly, that's very well put. The last question is also by Kavita, and my question is, how does CAV plan to tackle humanitarian issues, mostly for the underprivileged Indians, in a legal way? Do they have ample resources for it? Do you?
We have dreams, we have big dreams, we have big plans, we have some very good supporters, but we need many, many more.
Right.
So in fact, I keep saying, please come onto our website, cjp.org.in, become members, become donors. We really believe that there are more than 50,000, 100,000 Indians who can be part of the projects that CJP wants to launch. Small donations, 1,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. So we appeal to you for that. But what we want to do is we want to actually fight to make the Forest Rights Act actually become true for Adivasis. We want to try and help Dalits when they are fighting for their rights. Because we do believe we've got a certain amount of expertise in the courts. And if we can actually handle with certain mass organizations, and for instance, I'm Vice President of the All India Union of Forest Working People now, so that we can actually partner with our organizations on the ground to help them do it. I don't know if you know a company called POSCO. It was a company, South Korean company, for which the Odisha government actually acquired a lot of land. Now this land actually was very fertile, is very fertile, and a huge vibrant movement grew out of it to resist POSCO. POSCO went away about 4 years ago. Finally said, we are going back. But Odisha government now wants to take that land and give it to an Indian land. And there are 2,000 false cases against those actors. So CJP is actually working with the POSCO Pratirod Samiti. We are going to compile all the data, and within 3 months we are going to litigate in the Bhubaneswar court and in Supreme Court to get these cases quashed. So please help us in this struggle. For the marginalized, for the voiceless, and for the minorities.
Right, but for a young activist today, what would your advice be? Because activists, I mean, I've only heard of, so to say, an activist just being, thrown away by the system, cases on him, in jail. How does a young activist who may or may not have access to your organization or any other organization, how does he fend for himself? How does he keep his activism alive?
It's a tough question, but I think one way is to actually build networks and organizations. If you're not fighting alone, Kunal, you are less vulnerable. If you're fighting a battle entirely alone, you become more vulnerable. Look at the number of RTI activists who've been killed in the country. Brave people filing these RTI applications, trying to expose corruption, nexus, all sorts of things. But because you're fighting alone, it's easier for some builder lobby, somebody to knock you off. Whereas if there was a really solid network of people, not necessarily organization, but a network that speaks up for each other. Today, more than anything else, I think for all our movements, we need to build alliances with each other.
Yeah. Ideologically, you may be different, it doesn't matter.
Well, at least your basic principles are the same. Constitutional values, Article 14, Article 21, Article 19. Let's at least agree to a common minimum program and say, let's go for it, let's stand up for each other.
And they should, and if you're a young activist today trying to fight a battle, you should reach out to Teesta.
Please, we are really looking for activists, program people, volunteers, lawyers, everybody.
Okay, so I think we're good. I covered everything. Actually, most of the questions I had were asked by these guys. We omitted a bunch of questions. We should talk about them for a little bit so that people don't know that we're not skirting. But I don't know what an answer would be to how much poor money did you swallow and what's your next target, who's your next target. I mean, they don't make any sense, so to say. So we avoided it, but all the questions are in public domain. And if you feel that any question makes merit, which we avoided, please do write in and Teesta will answer it one way or the other. And thanks for joining us. Is that what?
No, I really want to thank everybody because I got the most heartwarming messages that we've got our volunteer form filled up.
Nice.
We've got these ninjas, CJP ninjas are going to stand up with us against hate. So we are going to be in touch with each one of you, and please let's just make our community very, very strong, very, very powerful, full of love and not hate.
And buy Teesta's book.
Please.
That answer.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Teesta.
Thanks, Kunal. Thank you.